Sox in the basement.
You know, I wouldn't normally start off the show with a Bears note, but I just want to say before we kick off Sox in the basement, I think Ben Johnson hates his quarterback more and more with each passing game. Like, they should just have, like, a camera on him after every play so you can just, and then a collage that just shows the faces and how they get worse and worse and worse. And the Bears keep winning. But that was my take after watching Monday Night Football. I think he hates his quarterback more and more each and every day.
Yeah, we were on a text chain together with a bunch of other people, and I just imagined as I saw you text that during the Bears-Commanders game, all of us just sort of nodding at our phones in agreement because, yeah, but I love watching Ben Johnson crash out. It's amazing. It's rare in a Chicago head coach. We haven't really seen it since, like, what, Ditka?
It's very Ditka-esque. Now, Ditka would explode and, like, throw the clipboard and stuff like that. We had Ozzie in baseball, very demonstrative. Terry Boom Boom Bevington would yell for no reason. He never really had a point, and I don't think if he even understood the argument he was making, it would surprise me. But Ben Johnson, just
probably
the faces.
Surprised him, too.
Yeah, it's the faces. It's just he looks disgusted. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and I empathize with him because that's me. My whole life, I've been that person that, like, if I'm annoyed about something, everybody knows it. Like, if something irks, I cannot hide it. Oh, I cannot. This is why I work for myself. I never got along with a boss because the moment the boss pissed me off, I would just make a face. I couldn't hide it. Like, I remember one time they almost wrote me up at the Cook County 911 Center because I couldn't stop eye-rolling my boss. Because I thought she was so wrong, and she was. And she's like, "You're still eye rolling me," and I couldn't figure out how to get my eyes to stop rolling. They were like in a constant roll. So I get Ben Johnson. Like, I completely and totally understand him. Don Cooper was on the last show on Sox in the Basement. A lot of people have asked, "Do you think we'll get him back?" I feel that way. Not only the way we were talking at the end of the interview, which you heard, but afterwards, Don stayed on, and he's also sent some messages. I think he enjoyed coming on. I think he enjoyed talking baseball. I think more people should be asking him his opinion, especially about pitching. And I think that's probably something he feels while he's in retirement. And if he wants to come on Sox in the Basement, he's always welcome. And I think he enjoyed just getting to talk pitching. And I'm sure he has a lot more that he'd like to talk about when it comes to pitching and baseball and even the White Sox. So down the line, I would love to have him back, and I think he will be back. He was the first entry in the $1,000 guest bounty brought to you by Cork and Carry at the Park. Win $1,000. Get a cool G by bringing us the best guest of the off season, and we don't vote on it. Ed and I have nothing to do with the vote. The listeners will vote, and if you think this thing is over, you're wrong, my friend. Because remember when it was Liam Hendricks and Jake Berger that one year we did it, and David Sampson out of nowhere is the guy that got the most votes as being the most interesting interview. And it doesn't need to be a baseball guy. Remember that. We'll take anything in the offseason, go through soxinthebasement.com or any of the social media channels and give us the suggestion. Just give us the in with that person and we'll book it. And if you give us an in, not just like, hey, I think you should talk to so-and-so. No. I have his number. I have her number. I have a way for you to contact them. Tell them so-and-so said, come on the air. Like, those are the kind of things that lead to a guest. That's how we got Don Cooper. That's how we'll get the next one for the guest bounty. I can't wait to find out who that is. There's a few on the burner right now that are very, very interesting. And they're not all famous people. They're just people with really interesting stories that I can't wait to share, and we'll see which ones come to fruition. But remember, it's all brought to you by Cork and Carry at the Park, 33rd and Princeton, in the shadow of the ballpark. Award-winning menu of burgers and ballpark favorites, spirits, wines, the whole shebang, rotating taps, indoor, outdoor seating, your place for pregame, postgame, in-game White Sox viewing, and now in the offseason, just a great neighborhood bar. And don't forget about Cork and Carry over at 106th and Western, one of my favorite spots to pop in, especially on the weekends. All right, I want to talk a little bit about the Coop interview. And a lot of people have the same question. It's interesting. Like, I get all the stuff in social media and all the stuff through soxinthebasement.com. It's the same question, basically, that's being asked by so many different listeners. I'll read this one from Connor out in Lamont, who probably listens to the Lamont Unlocked podcast as well, or watches that one. I'm at a jack-o'-lantern world this week, which was really fun to go to. I didn't think it would be fun. And I'm ghost hunting next week. Actually, tomorrow I record that show. I go to a place that's actually supposed to be haunted with a Southside ghost hunter who's bringing his ghost hunting equipment. And I imagine hijinks will ensue. So
are you dressing up as a Ghostbuster?
No, but my kids want to go. Like the 17-year-old's like, can I be the cameraman? Because he's just hoping for something to happen. And that's all he wants. He like volunteered to help dad when he heard what I was doing. But anyway, Connor asked, this is what he did. He went through Facebook. He says, really enjoyed the Don Cooper interview. Old school baseball is the way to go. So my question is, why is the trend for starting pitchers to only throw 4 to 5 innings? I believe that's the main reason our bullpen struggled and we couldn't win 63 games. Sincerely, Connor from Lamont. I think it's a big problem with the team as a whole, and it's a big problem across all of Major League Baseball. And I didn't need Don Cooper to come on and tell me that because we've yelled about that before. That is something I say all the time. A quality start is 6 innings with 3 or less earned runs. And it is still a valuable thing. And we don't strive to do that. And I wanted to bring up this stat. This is going to be an interesting conversation to have today. I want to talk about this a little bit. But I went and looked up the quality starts all across baseball, my friend. The White Sox highest guy with 9 quality starts is Davis Martin. He is tied for 75th on the list this year with 9 quality starts. The highest was Tariq Skubal, 24. Garrett Crochet had 23. Christopher Sanchez had 23 as well. Teams, in fact, with guys that do this, the Tigers, the Red Sox. I see 2 entries from the Phillies in the top 10. 2 entries from the Yankees in the top 10 for quality starts this year. The Mariners, Padres. These teams made it to the postseason. The Dodgers have them. This is an important thing to have. You need 1 or 2 to be up there at the top in terms of the quality starts. It gives the bullpen a rest. And it's something the White Sox have not done for a while. In fact, if you look back at when they were good, let's say, and first of all, Crochet didn't even make the top 10 or the top 100 last year. And he's number 2 this year with a different team. But if you take a look at like when the Sox were good, let's say, or they were going for it, or they were supposed to be good. I looked at 2021. Lucas Giolito's got, I want to say 15 as the leader. It's not something the White Sox have done in a while. Go back to when Coop was pitching coach, though. It happened a lot. They found guys that went out there and pitched 6, 7, 8, or 9, just like he talked about, Ed.
Yeah, well, and you know, the mention of John Garland, you know, getting mad at Jerry Manuel for pulling John Garland so early in his career, because how's Coop ever going to figure out if this guy can go and give him a quality start? Go 6, go 7. I
like that Coop was mad at Jerry Manuel because I didn't like him either. That was like that's when I knew we were going to have a good time on that episode. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean that's a perfect example of synergy right there between former pitching coach and podcast host.
Right.
But there's a couple of things at play, and one of them is something that when the Spider Tack thing came out, and you had guys complaining about their spin rates, okay, and their ability to grip the ball. The emphasis on these hard fastballs, the emphasis on these hard sliders and the hard breaking balls. These things are things that are taxing on the arm. It's not easy to do. Okay, there aren't too many Greg Maddoxes out there. There aren't too many guys that are out there pitching. You know what they're doing is a lot of them are throwing, and they have to throw hard, and they have to have the tight breaking stuff. They're not lollipopping curveballs up there. They're not getting by with just changeups. It's something where there's an art to pitching and pitching to contact. These guys are all pitching for strikeouts. And that was one of the things I think that popped up. It's one of the things we saw with Dylan Cease, where he would have amazing stuff. Nobody could touch him, but nobody could touch him. And that was the problem. So unless he was pinpoint and getting, 3-4 pitch at bats and striking guys out, he was not getting the quick contact. He was not going through innings where there's guys that are just grounding out on him on 1 or 2 pitches.
He had 1 year where he was doing that for about half a season. He was in the back half of a season. It wasn't his last season with the team. I think it was a season right before it.
It was the one before.
He was super effective in the back half. And I remember we talked about, I hope they're going to keep doing this. And they didn't. And maybe that's why Ethan Katz is gone. Because think about the problems this team had when it was supposed to be good. And then think about the problems that it has currently. The bullpen gets destroyed throughout 162 games. And I think that a lot of that rests on the pitching coach, especially after talking to Don Cooper. Brian Bannister isn't going to walk down the stairs and work out with a pitcher how he's going to get 6 or get 7. That's the coach. That's the pitching coach on the bench. If you're looking for a reason why Ethan Katz is gone, and probably would have been gone a year earlier if he didn't have more on his contract, and Jerry Reinsdorf didn't have the ridiculous policy of, well, you're locked in for 3 years, and so I don't care. Pitching coaches are pitching coaches. But now that he's gone, that could be a massive reason why he's gone. I want to get into that, but first I want to mention Hyatt Home Medical Equipment. Online stores ship walkers in a box, Ed, but at Hyatt, they deliver safety, fit, and peace of mind. When mobility is on the line, one size fits all will not cut it. Their Evergreen Perk team will help you get the right walker or rollator for your needs. Tested in store with expert fitting, walk out fully assembled and adjusted, no guesswork, no tools needed. Before you click buy now online, maybe you should think about safety and safe mobility. Check it all out. See everything that Hyatt has to offer at hhme.com or call them today at 708-422-2300. I think that was a problem with Ethan Katz. I think that listening to Don Cooper, and this is not a, hey, Coop's got to come out of retirement and be the pitching coach for the White Sox thing. I'm not doing that. But it sounds like the pitching coach's job is not only to sit there and say, great snap of the wrist, and I love the shape of that pitch. It's also to sit there and build the guy up. It's also to be the guy that gives him the confidence. It's like in Bull Durham when they go out there and they have the funny conversations, but somehow they get the pitcher through the inning. That's what the pitching coach has to do. That might be something that was lacking.
Yeah, you think about, you're right, in movies, okay, Nuke Lelouch is having trouble breathing through his left eyelid, and nobody knows what to get Millie and Jimmy for their wedding. Or you go to Major League when, there's the scene where Charlie Sheen, Rick Vaughn is on the mound, he goes, my arm feels like Jell-O. And then Jake Taylor goes behind the plate and tells Rexy that his wife looked good dancing with that other guy last night. Uh-oh, Rexy, I don't think this one's got the distance. Just get her over the plate. That's pitching strategy. Okay, that's goofy versions of it. But the real part of that is having a plan for each batter and understanding where the batter's weaknesses are and being able to attack them. Not because you're going to strike them out every single time. Okay. I think it was also in Bull Durham where they said strikeouts are fascist, right? You want to get the rest of the team involved. They're boring. Chicks dig the long ball, not the strikeout. So what you want to do is you want to have those situations where where's this guy cold, okay? In that little box that you look at when you're watching it on game day, where's this guy cold? Where can I put a pitch where he's got to swing at it, but he's not going to do anything with it because he never does?
And throw strikes. That's what Coop kept saying. Throw strikes in that box.
And throw strikes in that box. Attack. If a guy can't get around, attack him inside. If a guy is garbage on off-speed stuff, slow and low away. It's not...
You got 7 guys behind you. And a catcher in case he pops it back. Maybe Don't worry about putting the ball in the play. And that's an incredible philosophy to have. And I think I think baseball's getting away from it. I mean, if I bring up this list and I just go 10 years back, like right now, there's only like 4 or 5 guys in the 2025 season that had 20 or more quality starts. The list like quadruples, quintuples, if you just go back 10 years ago. I mean, it's a huge list of guys that are 20 or more just 10 years ago. The game.
Oh, I'm looking at 2016. John Lester led the league with 30, the year the Cubs won the World Series.
30 quality starts, yeah.
Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, 27 apiece. Nobody touched that this year.
Nobody got near it. And it goes way down the list, if I remember right, in terms of how many guys had 20 or more.
The top 18.
Okay, and
top
listen,
18. And 2 White Sox in there, by the way. Jose Quintana, Chris Sale. James Shields has 18 that year. Miguel Gonzalez has 17 for the White Sox.
Oh, who's the pitching coach at the time?
Don Cooper.
But here's the thing. The teams that are still getting this out of their pitchers, and Coop made a point, there are still guys out there that can do this. That's when he was sitting there saying, look, it doesn't matter what era you're in. Roger Clemens shows up, as he says, in the interview that you can catch on SoxInBasement.com or any podcast player or YouTube channel, whatever. It's there on demand forever. But he talks about that. If Roger Clemens shows up, he's just as good in this era. Nothing changes because he's going to be good. But I think he's also going to be more valuable because there's not as many guys like him that are out there that are going to go deep in the games. I mean, their pitching coaches might screw them up with this philosophy now that's out there of let's be perfect for the first 4 or 5 innings. But I think that you're hurting yourself long term. And if you look at the guys up at the top of the list, the teams that have a guy or two that are up at the top of the list in quality starts are all in the playoffs. And there's a reason for that, because their bullpens don't get taxed. And back to what I was saying about what a good pitching coach should be able to do. There's a lot of psychology, it sounds like, in this. And I was thinking, look, on a much lower level, I never coached high school level or higher or anything like that, right? But I coached for a while for softball, girls softball, all the way up until like right before they go off to high school. My daughter was a softball player, and she was pretty good at it. She wasn't a pitcher. When I was the manager, you had to learn your players, even at that level. I remember we had one girl who she would get herself so psyched out before a big game. In the championship game, you know what I did? I purposely did a mound visit before she threw the first pitch. You want to know why I did that, Ed? Because I'm only allowed to go out there once an inning, or I have to pull her. And the other coach, who I knew was a hothead, fell for it immediately. He shouts across the field and he goes, "That's it. He can't go out there again and help her for the whole first inning." He yells it at the umpire because he was a jerk. He yells it in front of all the, these are still little girls. He can't go out there. Can't go out there anymore. If he does, he has to pull her ump. He's yelling at the ump. And you know what I did? I turned around and I said, "That's okay. I don't need to, because she's going to be fine." I knew she needed that boost. That's the psychology of coaching. She went 1, 2, 3 in the opening inning, came off the mound, pumping her fist and pointing at the opposing coach, by the way. That's
good for her.
That's something
good
pitching.
For her.
I know, and that's something pitching coaches have to do. And I was inspired by Coop talking about the idea of getting John Garland built up, him and AJ Pierzynski, of getting guys, finding a way to get them through 6, no matter how much stuff they had or didn't have. It's a lost art. I hope the Sox find somebody like that as their next pitching coach.
Well, and you got to figure that that's something that they have to line up for, because you have guys that are capable. Don't tell me Shane Smith can't go 6 with only 3 runs. Okay, Davis Martin did it, a decent amount of time for a guy who's not a world beater. I mean, he's good. I like Davis Martin. I hope he's around next year and pitches as well as he did this year. He's a useful guy in the back half of a rotation. But you have the opportunity there to do something really, really interesting and good with this team, because the other thing too is you have a young team. You've got guys who can play the field pretty well. And yeah, you need an outfield. You need to put that together. And yeah, you need to not have Lenyn Sosa out there if you're going to have that statement that they play the field pretty well. But you're going to have the opportunity to get a good team going by showing that you have a starter who can go out there, take care of most of the game, and then do the thing that the White Sox kind of showed that they might have the knack of doing, which is coming back late in games. If the bullpen shuts down a team, you can't tell me that a guy like Colson Montgomery, who's dangerous in late innings, okay, against a cold reliever, or in a situation where the bases are loaded and the other team, psychologically, the sphincters are tightening a little bit when the pitcher's out there, because he doesn't want to give this up. And here comes this guy who could hit one out at any time, right? Tell me that that's not something that the White Sox should be looking to have happen. But you can't have a shutdown bullpen if you don't have a good starting rotation.
Right, because your bullpen can be good, but if you wear them out, it doesn't matter. If they're never available because they're all exhausted because you're using 3 or 4 of them a game,
right,
it doesn't matter the money you spend on the bullpen. This is something the White Sox are talking about doing. They've openly talked about it. Okay, Josh Barfield said it to Scott Merkin, who talked about it on this show about a week or so ago. One of their focuses is to make their bullpen better, because they believe as a team, their front office believes, this is not a secret, we've already had this on the show, their front office believes that if you had a better bullpen, you would have won 10 or more additional games this year. And you're a much better team than what you are right now. They think that's a big deal to being closer to competitiveness without having to break the bank with their cheap owner. So this is something they want to go do, but it won't matter. Remember, Rick Hahn spent all that money on a bullpen. It didn't matter because you couldn't get your starters 6 or 7 innings in every game. Look, there's 2 ways to do it, too. It's very simple, I believe. 1, pitch to contact and throw strikes. 2, that 6th inning is always a test. The pitching coach has to have, pitching coach has to have some balls. Like, he's got to go out there and look at the guy and be able to say, I think he's still got it. He's got to look at the catcher and say, is he gassed? No, I think he's still got some more. You need to have some guys that are going to look at their pitcher and tell him, you got this. Get back out there and finish this inning. That's a hump inning. It's a big deal. And that is something that needs to be a focus. It's one of those things that nobody's really paying attention to. And I love the fact that Coop came on early on in this guest bounty thing and early on in the offseason, because it really got my brain going on this. I've really been thinking about this the last couple of days. This is something that's really important for the White Sox. They've got to find the right pitching coach who's not just a guy who's going to sit down and look at like hot and cold zones and how to pitch this guy and have those conversations with him, with his pitchers, but can also walk out there and tell him, let's go. Strikes. I'm not pulling you from this game. You're going to live or die this inning. I think you can live. And looks at the catcher, and Caro or Teal goes, yeah, I think he's still got it. Let's go, man. Get it in the glove. And they go back there and they make him get through that inning. They need that. Sox in the Basement listeners trying to make the most of your money. Give a call to Tom Walsh, your Edward Jones financial advisor. Located on the corner of 111th and Kedzie, but serving the Chicagoland area, Tom has a get-to-know-you approach and a do-the-right-thing attitude. He's been doing this for decades. It's all about knowing your options when you're investing and planning for your retirement. No matter what stage you are at, it costs nothing to check in with Tom. Give Tom Walsh, your Edward Jones financial advisor, a call today, 773-779-0023. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Well, it all comes together, doesn't it? Scouting so that you know how to attack the hitters is a key. The pitching coach being able to deliver that and the catcher being able to deliver on those reports to be able to say, okay, throw strikes and here's what we're going to throw and here's how we're going to attack the guy. That takes care of the physical portion of it, really. I mean, mechanics are whatever, but that's throwing strikes. The second part of it, you're right, is got to be the bulldog mentality. I mean, you got to have the mentality of going out there. And you can't tell me, looking at the 2005 team, for example, that Mark Burley, Jose Contreras, and Freddie Garcia in particular. I'll leave John Garland out of the conversation for a minute, and I'll leave El Duque and Brandon McCarthy out of the conversation for a minute. But those three guys, you cannot tell me that those three, knowing the way they pitched, the way they attacked hitters, their mentality of wanting to go out and dominate every single start, and their mentality of wanting to go out and be the man, you don't go and get 4 in a row complete games, right?
Almost.
You don't do that.
It almost was 5. Coop brought that up. He's like, the one we lost, we only had 7 pitches from one guy that was out of the bullpen.
Poor Neil Kotz had to put his pants on and go out there.
The rest of the bullpen just
throw 7 pitches.
Took the series off. And I remember that interview when he brought it up in the interview with us about the in-game interview that was on Fox while they were in Game 5 against the Angels, and they asked him what he was expecting from his bullpen, and he said on air, I don't want to see him. Like, I want my starters to keep. I mean, like, he didn't even want to see the bullpen. And I remember laughing during it. I was like, I love the attitude of this team. He's still telling that story 20 years later. That was great. I want that.
And that is a goal. Okay. And I'm not saying that, a Shane Smith, Davis Martin, Noah Schultz, Hagen Smith, whoever else is in the rotation next year, if it's Grant Taylor, Mike Vassell, whoever, that those guys are going to have the talent, the skill, the stamina to pull it off at this stage of their careers. But that should be their mentality. They should walk out on the mound with that thought of, I'm going 9. And then if you get pulled after 6, good job. If it's a quality start. If you get pulled after 7, good job. Get pulled after 8, outstanding. You get a complete game. That's a rarity because nobody had complete games this year. I mean, that's, you want to talk about something that's gone completely the way of the dodo.
But look at the guys that are doing this. Look at the quality starts just on this list here. Okay, I mean, Skubal, Crochet, Sanchez, Logan Webb is 4, Max Fried and Hunter Brown and Brian Wu all tied at 5th. Paul Skeens in the top 10. Framber Valdez in the top 10. Nick Pivetta. You know what's really funny about this? I'll give away a secret to any of the guys in our fantasy baseball league. This is why I win so much. This is the hidden secret to why the Ninja Black Sox have won 5 out of the last 9 championships in our fantasy baseball league. I know you're in this league, Ed. I think you already know this. I'm sorry I'm giving away a secret. It's the quality starts. I collect pitchers that get quality starts. 1, it's a stat in a points league, but 2, it really shows me if the guy is good. Consistently over 162 games over a season, do I have a good pitcher that I can rely on, that I can plug in for that week in fantasy baseball? Like, I won this year, and my best pitchers had high numbers. Nick Pivetta, 19 quality starts out of 31 starts. Luis Castillo, 18 quality starts out of 32 total. Brian Wu, 21 of his 30 starts were quality starts. George Kirby did not start the year. He was out for the first 2 months, still had 12 quality starts. He probably would have ended up with about 16, 17 of them. And I won that league. When even the guys that came on late, Nolan McLean for the Mets, half of his starts were quality starts. He only had 8 starts at the back end of the year. 4 of them were quality starts. He was on fire at the end.
And as if to make your point, a guy that you gave up on midseason because he was terrible this year, but I had on my staff for a good portion of the season.
Yeah,
Zach Gallen had 15.
Yeah, I know. I gave up on him, and he got good in the back end, didn't he?
Yeah, he got better.
Yeah,
he got better, but he was not nearly what he was because he stopped striking guys out. But he's still obviously capable of a quality start.
And he gives the bullpen a rest. How many times? Think about that. Like, just having one, you really just need to have one, right? And they're never going to find it when they go. Like, I don't think they're ever going to find this going out there and spending $10 million on a pitcher, right? I don't think your Martin Perez's are ever going to bring that to you. You know, when they go out and they find that one guy to sit in the 3 spot while they're still waiting for the 1 and 2 to come from the minor league system and they got plenty of 4s and 5s for their rotation, they're going to have to teach this as well. And I would think, I mean, I don't know. I would think that this is something that Brian Bannister wants. I mean, the guy taught an awful lot about pitching. A lot of people think that he's very smart when it comes to this. He's never actually picked his pitching coach in this process.
No.
So, I mean, it's very interesting to me to see who comes in and what the philosophy will be for 26 and beyond.
Yeah, you can clearly paint a picture going forward based on this offseason as to what kind of a team the White Sox are going to be and who they're patterning themselves after. Because anybody can sit there and say, we're going to be the Dodgers and we're just going to spend money on everything and everyone. And anybody who shows up is a guy that has Cy Young credentials or is a guy that might be a closer on any other team or, is the biggest and best free agent from overseas or whatever. Or you can be somebody like the Phillies who had Christopher Sanchez, Zach Wheeler, and Ranger Suarez, all with 2/3 of their starts are quality starts.
I know.
Okay.
And that's the thing. You can spend all the money you want to, but you need this. This seems to be, like, you look at that list, this seems to be a trend with the best teams of baseball.
Yeah, it's not hard to win in Major League Baseball if you have the right philosophy sometimes.
It's the stopper. Isn't that what it used to be? I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's the stopper, right? They used to say that all the time. The guy in a rotation that comes along basically stops the bleeding. The guy that comes along gives the bullpen a big rest because they need it. Like, Mark Burley was a stopper.
Mark Burley was definitely a stopper.
Throughout the majority of his career was a stopper. Okay? When Contreras was really good in that little stretch there, he was a stopper. You know? I mean, like, there were guys that would go out, and they were all across baseball. All of 15, 20 years ago, they were everywhere. Teams had that. Not every team really has that anymore. You just need, to be honest with you, you just need one. And if you can find 2 of them, now you're golden. Now what you go out and spend your money on, now what you develop in your bullpen, now how you run your bullpen, everything gets better because you have more options on the table for every game because everybody's not gassed. It just gives the manager more to work with, and you put yourself behind the 8 ball if you don't have those innings eaten up at the beginning of a game. I don't know. Coop got me revved up about pitching. He really did.
Well, and and look, that's the other thing too, is that as baseball fans, as White Sox fans, what do we really want, right? We want to be entertained. We want to have a team that's fun to watch. What was so fun about the 2005 team, other than the fact that they kept winning? It was the fact that they were in every single game, right? Rarely did they get blown out, completely just absolutely, utterly destroyed. Of course it happened. It happens every season. You can't go 162 games without having a few clunkers in there. But how many one-run games were they in where they turned around and won it at the end because they had a starter who fought all game long and did a great job of trying to keep guys off a base and just try and keep guys from crossing home plate, and then they could turn it over to a bullpen that had career years out of pretty much everybody out there, right? I mean, Cliff Polite was never better than he was in 2005. Neil Kotz never better than he was in 2005. Bobby Jenks, maybe no better than he,
that was his best year. I think that was his best year. I mean, it really was because people hadn't figured him out. Cliff Polite broke during the playoffs. I'll never forget that. He had a rough time. I want to say it was an inning in the World Series. He came off the mound. He had those big wide eyes. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I don't think you'll see him for the rest of the series because he looked like somebody was shell shocked because that was a lot of pressure. And he was a good pitcher out of the bullpen. I'm not trying to say anything bad about him. Right, but you're right. He was a good
pitcher in general. That man had a no-hitter in his career.
I know, and that was a starter. But that was kind of the end right there, right? But I mean, think about those names. They also were very effective because they were well rested, and they could be used in the proper situation because you weren't up against it because the starters had put you in a bad position. Instead, the starters had done such a good job eating up innings that now, when it came time to look at that bullpen, 90% of it was available and ready to go, and you could pick the exact guy in the exact moment to win a game on a Wednesday night. And that's
unless you're Ozzy and you put the wrong guy in, and then you have to grab Cliff by the shoulders and go, "Don't worry, this is my mistake, but you got it. You got it."
Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement. Sox in the basement.
Sox in the Basement. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found and always on soxinthebasement.com.